And I do feel like The Hobbit is all three of the Hobbit movies are a great way to tie in this entire universe. Again. Number two again.
It seems like whenever we do these, we always have to redo them.
Have you and I had to redo?
Yes, we had to redo the Owlay one. Was it the Owlay one?
No, we didn't redo that one.
Yeah, we did. We redid one.
Did we?
Yeah.
Because I had to redo one with Ariel too.
Okay, so I'm not the only one.
Yeah.
All right. I was feeling special for a second.
No, the one with Ariel that I had to redo was the Arian and Tillian one.
The ones that you do with her, good.
Stop turning away from the microphone.
The ones that, the ones that you do with her are good because they she's like new to it, right?
Yeah.
And so it's a nice take.
Yeah, it's nice to have somebody that like has
questions.
Yeah, well, and basically the only knowledge that she has are my ramblings about it and movies. Because she's seen the movies plenty of times. She can almost quote the original trilogy as well as I can because she was in love with Legolas when she was younger. So she just watched it all the time.
I think most people were in love with Legolas.
Yeah, or Aragorn.
Yeah.
I do feel bad about saying this, but I don't feel like he aged well. Viggo Mortensen.
No.
He did not age well. Like there are other men that are like his same age that I'm like, this guy looks good. I do not feel like Viggo Mortensen aged well.
Yeah. Yeah, I can see that. Elijah Wood.
That guy's a fucking vampire.
That guy doesn't age.
I'm pretty sure he's an elf, and he just doesn't age.
Yeah, I mean, he was a child.
Yeah,
because we know this. And so, and I think there was also, I was watching the Galadriel video that he did with Ariel, and she mentioned something about like
child rearing.
It's like you don't even see like elf children. It's like, well, clearly they're elf children. They're not born like adults.
Yeah, it just never really talks about. I mean, like I said, the only ones that are ever talked about.
Boring. Child rearing is boring.
It is, and the only ones that are talked about are the half-elvens.
Right.
So like Elrond, Elros, Arendil.
Because they're major characters in the story.
But you don't know about you don't even really know about Fëanor as a kid.
Right.
So we watched all three of the Hobbit movies.
Yeah. So this is a redo.
This is a redo of the podcast that we actually did at 9:00 at night after watching all three of those movies.
That was last weekend.
It was last weekend.
Yeah.
We watched all of them and we rowed. We used Concept 2 rowers to row during the movies.
Yeah.
And basically anytime the company was moving, we were rowing.
We were rowing.
Yeah. And there was only one time that the extended version made that worse, and it was when they were going into Rivendell.
Yes.
Because normally, Dwalin is like, I don't know where it goes. Should I follow it? And they're like, yes. And then they're like in Rivendell. Yeah. But we're watching the extended versions, so they're going through the canyon and see the trees, and they stop and fucking talk for a while.
The other thing that made that worse was I remember that being a very quick chase. Right?
Yeah. So you were like, let's sprint.
I'm like, let's sprint it. Like, they're running. Let's sprint it. And I'm like, it's only going to be like 2 minutes, right? It's like a 2-minute sprint. Like, I tire out after a minute anyway. But I'm like, at least I can keep it up for a minute. And I'm going, and I'm like, wait, they're not
stopping.
They're not anywhere close to the rock where they're eventually going to get into Rivendell.
Yeah.
This was stupid. And then they finally get into the rock.
Made a bad decision.
Yeah, and they finally get into the rock, and I go, finally. And then they're just like talking about like where they're walking to. And all we're doing as like they're walking across the bridge, and they're still fucking walking.
We're just waiting for them to group up together.
And we're just like, stop already.
Because that scene where Gandalf and Bilbo are talking while the dwarves are walking, right? Like, that's only in the extended version. So I'm just sitting there like, shut the fuck up. Like, I can't keep doing this. Yeah. Like, you've got to be done. Yeah, I think I almost hit 5K on that piece.
On that segment.
Because it was, I have
mine logged on my
like, that ended up being like 17 or 18 minutes. like that piece of it.
I'll have to check that later.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it was a longer segment.
Yeah, I know there were 2 segments throughout the day where I almost hit a 5K.
Yeah.
And it was just like, it was way more exhausting than I wanted it to be.
The last part of the second movie.
I think
where
the
I
nicest...
just continued growing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I honestly think the nicest rows were the first rows of each movie.
Yeah.
Because the first rows of each movie were less than 1,000 meters.
Yeah.
It was just like, it was like 3-ish minutes
that
we were
rowing.
rowing.
Were like 3-minute segments. And,
yeah.
Well, the best row was the very first one of the very first movie.
Where he's going on an adventure.
Well, because you're just like...
Yeah.
I was like, okay, this is...
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah,
this is fun.
This is fun. And then 9 o'clock at night and a podcast that was supposed to be done that isn't done. And here we are again.
So we did it. The biggest premise behind it is I am trying to we started this. I came up with the idea of the Swolhirrim because of our big interest in both fitness and Tolkien, right? And we have been. I've mostly been focusing on the Tolkien.
On the
side.
The Hirrim part.
Yes. Yeah. And not necessarily the Swole part.
Not so much the Swole part.
And so...
you've been doing your Swole part.
Right. But even then, it hasn't been a focus of the podcast or even really the Instagram. I've been trying to put a little bit more of that in there.
Yep.
And so really it just came down to I've realized that we're missing a piece of the Swolhirrim.
Yeah. And
so we wanted to do a podcast on all the movies anyway.
Yeah.
So, and this is something that we've talked about doing for a year.
Yeah.
About doing a marathon while we're rowing, a movie marathon while we're rowing.
Yeah.
And so it was just let's do it, I guess.
Yeah. It was a good idea in theory. I kept saying, I was like, oh, it's so bad to subliminally train your mind into pain and associating it with Lord of the Rings.
You're just gonna get lower back pain and hamstring pain every time you watch it.
My hamstrings are gonna tighten up whenever I start watching The Hobbit or The Lord of the Rings. And then after doing it, thinking about the next segment that we want to do, we have to start at we probably have to start at 6 in the morning.
Yeah.
Which I'm fine with.
Right.
But yeah, the next movies are super long. I think they're each 3.5 hours.
And Return of the King is closer to 4.
Yeah. Yeah. For the extended versions.
Right.
And all they do in all 3 movies is travel.
Yeah.
If we keep it to the same as whenever the company travels, we travel. Well, the company kind of breaks up in the first movie.
So it's a lot of travel.
Yeah, it's a lot of travel.
Because you're switching between those people at that point, right? Yeah. You're switching between I'm thinking about you've got Gimli, Legolas, and Aragorn.
Yeah.
Traveling.
Yeah.
You've got Merry and Pippin traveling, not under their own accord, but still traveling.
Yeah.
Right. And then you've got Sam and Frodo traveling.
Yeah.
And it just goes from one to the next to the next.
I think for that one we should just do Sam and Frodo.
Just the ring. Just follow the ring.
Just follow the ring.
That would be good.
Because that makes more sense.
Yeah. If we decide to just follow the ring, I think there'll be significantly less. Still a good amount of
but we
rowing.
Get more breaks.
But definitely more breaks.
But then we also do all 3 movies this time.
Right.
Because we're following the ring.
Right. Yeah.
And
yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
I like that. Just follow the ring. Don't worry about the company.
Yeah.
Just basically you're following Frodo.
Yeah. So we essentially start rowing when Frodo leaves the Shire.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm done with that.
Okay.
And that means that we've kind of like the first Hobbit movie, we've got a decent amount before we start. We get to just watch and ease into it.
Yeah, and there's decent breaks.
Yeah.
Because they're not...
Actually, that's not a bad... We could even we're going to need food. on this day.
Oh yeah.
So like if we like bring like we can sit there and have like coffee and muffins or something like that beforehand, like during that first. I mean, it's got to be what 20, 30 minutes before we're even going to start rowing at least.
Yeah.
So it's going to be a while, which is nice.
It's at least an hour, I think.
Yeah, that's perfect.
Maybe.
We got plenty of time to eat breakfast.
40 minutes.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Set up the podcast.
But then as soon as, I mean, that's the thing. As soon as it starts, it's just like, you know, we're going like the furthest that Sam's ever been from the Shire, man. That's when we're going.
Yeah. There was a meet. They did like the movie
where it's always
where it's Sam is, you know, every
time
every
he's the
step,
farthest.
Yeah, it's the farthest he's ever been. I haven't seen it.
That would drive me insane.
Yeah, that would drive me
I
crazy.
could not.
So that's
that's the plan moving forward.
That's the plan moving forward. That's kind of what we did on this last one.
Yeah.
It wasn't actually so bad. The next day, I was surprisingly not as sore as I thought I was going to be.
Yeah, it is kind of nice doing this a little bit later, because I know we already did this.
Yeah.
But like we can talk about like I wasn't either. Like the next day I wasn't like wrecked.
Yeah.
It was tough. Like there were parts like my hamstrings were a little tight. But like I could move up and down. Like I wasn't like completely wrecked. My lower back was fine.
Yeah, I could sit. Unlike today,
like my pull muscles, like behind like my shoulder blades, like that area was a little tight too. Like I noticed that when I was warming up my class the next day.
Yeah.
But like for the most part, like I was pretty much okay.
My low back was a little bad, which is probably just my bad, form.
Yeah.
But no, I'm more sore today after doing a set of heavy back squats yesterday.
Yeah.
Or no, 2 days ago.
Yeah.
Than I was from
rowing
thousands
of meters.
20,000 meters.
Yeah.
I was gonna say kilometers.
If only.
21 kilometers.
Yeah. So I mean, it's nice. It's nice to know that like, I mean, we can do it and be okay the next day. Yeah. Like it's not gonna wreck us for like a week.
But definitely a slower pace.
Yeah, and this one's definitely going to be worse. I mean, that's the problem that we ran into going into it, right? Like the very first one, I was telling you, I was like, yeah, I'm going to row it like a 2:30, and I wrote it like a 2 instead.
No, you said you were going to row like a 3. You said you were going to row a 3-minute pace, and you rowed like a 2.
It was like 2:04 or something like that.
Like
yeah,
that.
For that
and
first
go. And it's hard to keep your own pace.
Yeah.
When you're like, I mean, you're away from me, but you still hear you go.
Whoosh,
yeah, and so then you just kind of start doing it.
Right.
Well, it's just like when I sprinted.
Yeah, and all of us were like, all right, let's go. And then we all regretted that shit.
Yeah, not smart.
By the way, Carlos was a little upset that I let the music roll in between. We talked about that last time. We haven't talked about
that's actually fine. I think that's going to be fine for the next.
Give us a little bit more rest.
Yeah, I think there should be more rest.
Yeah, as long as we like you said, as long as we start at like 6 a.m.
Yeah.
We can let that music roll into the next thing.
Yeah.
Like we can let the credits go, but we have to start fucking early. Some more swole talk.
Yeah.
Because we both have our hashtag Whoop band.
Oh yeah.
You can.
Oh, you have the same color now.
Yeah, I put this one on. I've got all the colors because Ariel has a shit ton of bands and she uses the Aura Ring now. She's not using a Whoop anymore.
Oh, she's not using the Whoop anymore?
It was a temperature type thing. Like basically the Aura Ring takes temperature also.
Mm-hmm.
And anyway, she talked about it in one of her. Did we talk about it in one of ours? Now that her and I both have podcasts, I cross them all the time.
Yeah.
But anyway, we both got Whoop bands. Hashtag sponsor us Whoop. But do you look at your respiratory rate?
Every now and then, yeah. So my respiratory rate's actually been pretty steady.
Yeah.
I haven't really, like, Melissa's, like, devoted to her Whoop.
I track, like, the biggest thing through this entire thing is I've just been tracking my respiratory rate.
Yeah.
Because I know that, like, they've shown pretty definitively that if that goes up and continues up, then you're sick.
Yeah.
Right? And
well, same with, like, temperature.
Yeah.
Your temperature goes up.
Yeah.
As you start getting sick because your body's reacting to the viruses or whatever's in you.
Right. So it's been nice because I've been able to like keep an eyeball on that, even on days like if I'm like, shit, am I like not feeling great? Yeah. Is this kind of weird? I'll like take a look and my respiratory rate's steady and all that. So I'm like, okay, like I'm not gonna worry too much just yet.
Yeah.
I don't take it as gospel, but it's nice to have those metrics.
Yeah. So we have. So I look at that, and then we also have a Kinsa temperature thermometer, which it's for whatever reason it's not linking to the app. So Kinsa, like look into that.
Yeah.
But they're like a Bay Area based company, and then they do so they take the information from the app that people upload, and then they can kind of track.
Oh, cool.
Like where people are getting sick.
Oh, yeah.
And so if there's like a flu outbreak,
aren't there like cities and shit that are doing that right now anyway? Like you can buy into that type of thing.
And your Apple does it too.
No, but we won't get into that.
No, we won't. This is for something else.
Yeah, that's not this podcast. This is why I feel like I need like 8 podcasts, because one of the things that I was watching yesterday, because I went in and watched a few like build your podcast type of things yesterday, because I was looking up the microphones and all of that jazz, and click hole, you just keep going. And like one of the things was the guy was like, pick something that you that you could just talk for hours about. And I'm like, well, shit. Like the problem is there's a few of those things in my life. Because, I asked you about if you'd seen WandaVision.
Oh, right.
And, MCU shit, I could talk about that all day. I mean, it's just like Lord of the Rings, where I'll finish all the way through and be like, well, guess I'm watching this again. I just started watching season 1 of Daredevil again. The Netflix show.
Oh, the Netflix show.
Because it was so good.
That was really good. Was there only 2 seasons?
3.
Or 3 seasons.
Yeah, the 3rd season is great because
the 3rd season.
The 3rd season brings back Kingpin, and he's got Bullseye, and it's amazing. It's so good. Anyway, that is way off topic.
Yeah,
but that's one of those things
to cut off.
But that's what I'm saying is I could do podcasts on that. I could do podcasts on politics. The nice thing is this one at least combines 2 things that I like to talk about a lot, which is fitness and Tolkien.
I mean, you're probably going to cut out most of this.
There's going to be a lot of cut.
I would. You should put in like a little screenshot, like the Fallout, where it's like the old timey TV screen that when it goes off the air.
Oh yeah.
Just put it technical difficulties, ranting.
Yeah. And we're back. All right, so we are back, and let's. So really, what we wanted to go over was the fact that the reason why we watched these is because we wanted to actually go over the movies, right? And we wanted to talk about what we liked, what we didn't like, things that they added, things that they took away, and just kind of the overall impression of the movies. To start that out, we both like the movies.
Yeah.
We both like The Hobbit. We both think that it's a good movie. It's great that Peter Jackson made it. The world is better because The Hobbit is in it than were it not.
Right.
But that aside, let's do 3 things, one for each movie that we like.
One from each movie that we like.
Yeah.
I do like... So, we did watch the extended.
Yes. Disclaimer, all of this week and next week, is all going to be extended stuff.
Last week.
Well, what I mean by is so our Hobbit movie reviews and the Lord of the Rings movie reviews are extended version.
Right.
Okay? So if you haven't seen the extended version and we talk about something that you don't know, not our fault. Watch the extended version.
Yeah. I think the extended version... I mean, the scenes added to the extended version are clearly for people who have read the books, right? And... have read the supporting books, so like the Silmarillion, and have read the appendices to the Lord of the Rings, right? And
which a lot of people skip, I feel like.
Yeah.
I mean, I think I skipped it.
Times. I skipped it.
I think my first 2 times reading it, I was I looked at the appendices and I was like, nah.
I got to it and I'm like, oh, they're like footnotes. I'm like, I don't read that. I don't read footnotes.
Yeah.
They're definitely the added scenes are, for me, made the movies more enjoyable. One in particular, though. Why don't you go?
All right. Okay, so things that I liked. So the very first, the first movie, I think what I really liked was the amount of, because I think, yeah, that's still in the first movie too. I like the amount of songs that were in the movie.
Okay.
I like that they kept that, right? Because they took a lot of that out in Lord of the Rings, right? There's still a lot of singing in Lord of the Rings, and they just kind of took it out or put it in background noise, right? Like the elves singing in Rivendell, it's really just like background. They don't talk much about it. And even like Aragorn singing the tale of Beren and Luthien, like he's in the extended versions, he talks about it, he says what it is, but in the theatrical, it's not even there. Right. So they take a lot of that out. I like that they left the songs in The Hobbit. One, because I think it sets the tone really well. Right. We talked about this last time, where I like that you've got Blunt the Knives when Thorin's not there. And then Misty Mountain once he shows up. Right. And the difference between those two songs.
One's very pubby.
Yeah.
And the other one's just kind of super serious.
And so I really like that. I actually like. Is this in the second one?
What is it?
The Goblin Town song.
No,
that's the first one, right?
First one.
It spans so much time.
So the second one starts after
they're out.
Out of the pan into the
Right. So Goblin Town.
That's
a fun song, right? The Goblin King, or I don't remember what they call
Goblin
him.
King.
Is he the Goblin King? That's fun, right? I like his song and like the band that they have set up and all of that fun jazz.
Yeah.
And then even into there's one other song. Oh, the one that. Dory? Is it Dory that sings it? No, it's not Dory.
It's not Dory. I forget his name.
Yeah.
I forget his name.
I know, and that makes me sad because he has that relationship with Bilbo.
He's the closest one to Bilbo.
Yeah, so his song in Rivendell, his pub song.
Yeah.
And like I like that. I like that they kept all of those in. I like that they had kind of those moments where, and it was all very like, this is fun. We're having a good time. This one's solemn. We're talking about where we're going. This one's supposed to be crass and like metal type music, right? And then this one is like, I'm bored of your harp playing. Let me show you what real music is. Right. And it's just fun. Right. Like I like that they kept those in, and I thought that was cool for the first movie.
So I think what I was gonna say, and I think this is better, kind of going back and forth like this, is I think I remember. What I enjoyed the most of the first film, right, and to an extent the third film, is how they tied it into the original trilogy, right? And so it starts with Bilbo.
Oh, right.
Scene, it's the day that Gandalf comes to the party, right?
Right.
So it's the very beginning of the Lord of the Rings, which we're gonna watch in a week.
Yeah.
Right. And it ends. The trilogy ends back in the house just as Gandalf arrives, right? To Bag End, and I thought that was nice and how they kind of connected, the two movies, and they essentially just like we could spend an entire day watching all 6 extended versions, right?
And it would literally be an entire day.
And it would literally be an entire day. But you could do that, and it's just kind of seamless in the way it goes. And I like that aspect of the film, right?
Yeah.
In that it just marries the two movies together, which is another good reason why, I'm glad Peter Jackson took it over.
From Guillermo.
I was going to say Benicio, but I was like, that's not
right. Wrong Del Toro.
Wrong Del Toro. But I did like that because, it made it more of a saga.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so that's what I liked from the first film, and to an extent the third film as well.
So, film number 2.
Film number 2.
Desolation of Smaug.
Desolation of Smaug.
I love the way that they did Smaug. And Erebor, for that matter. Like, the treasure room of Erebor and, like, the enormity to it. Yeah. And, like, the way that the way that Benedict Cumberbatch does Smaug, the way that they presented Smaug, that whole back and forth between the two, between him and Bilbo, is just like amazing. Yeah. I think it's so good.
Yeah.
I think that part is probably my favorite part of all of the movies. I really like Riddles in the Dark as well.
Yeah.
But
that's the first movie.
That's the first movie. Yeah. But I think like that's the thing is like any of those like Bilbo and the bad guy back and forth type things are just fantastic because Martin Freeman does so well at this like nervous, trying to play it
energy.
Cool. Very, very nervous about it, trying to play it cool, but like you can tell he's just like freaking out the whole time inside, right? And it's just so good. Like I love that part.
Yeah, no, that was good too. And then what you said to Erebor, that was also when I said earlier, the extended, the extended version, what you get as someone who reads it or who has read it and has read, all the accompanying material, is you get more of Erebor, right? And how it was like, and more of Dale and how Dale was like right before Smaug came there.
Yeah.
And so you see it, in its glory, right? Because we never really see it in its glory, right? We know of it in the Lord of the Rings because, we're told that Bard's grandson and Dane
stick around.
They're the ones that fight the war that goes on up in the north.
Right. They while the Battle of Pelennor Fields is going on, right?
Yeah. And they die together.
Right.
And you know that Dale has become successful again.
Yeah.
Is it Dale still though?
Yeah. Yeah, I think they still call it Dale.
Or is it Esgaroth or something like that?
Esgaroth is different, I believe. Different?
Anyways.
Yeah. Doesn't matter.
But you don't really know anything. You know that they're doing better,
right?
And that the dwarves have gotten back to Erebor and they're back to being better.
Yeah.
But you don't know anything about it,
right?
Really. And so to see what it was like, and you don't know like Khazad-dûm either. Like,
right.
We never see Khazad-dûm in its glory.
Yeah.
And so to kind of see a dwarven realm in its glory was kind of cool to see.
Yeah, we do.
The first film.
I mean, that's something that I've talked about, I think once or twice on the podcast, of just the idea of like, I wish we were able to get more dwarven stories, like of the past, of like Dane the First and like him, like just getting more of that, those first dwarf lords and like them creating these cities, and we just don't. So it's nice to have, like you said, seeing Erebor like in its heyday.
Yeah.
Like how it
was cool.
Be.
And I'm like, I've lived there.
Yeah. I mean, like the amount, and we talked about this multiple times while we were rowing, is just the amount of gold.
Oh yeah.
Is just madness.
In the vault or whatever.
Yeah.
The gold
like
room.
That is insane. Like
so,
that's Scrooge McDuck money. Yeah. Like that's fuck everything money right there.
So the second film, what I liked is we don't really get this in the Hobbit, right? There is, I think it in is it the Book of Lost Tales maybe that they talk about, the battle at Dol Guldur.
Yeah.
Or maybe it's I know it's in the appendices where they talk
Unfinished Tales.
The Unfinished Tales.
Yeah.
So I like that we got to see more of what happened, because we know that when Gandalf goes away, that's what he's doing.
Right.
Right? Him and the rest of the White Council are going to Dol Guldur to expel the Necromancer.
Right.
There are liberties taken with the movie,
right?
In that Gandalf's captured, and then
and timing and other things like that. But yes,
and then with what's his name?
Thrain.
Who is still there
and shouldn't be.
Yeah. But I thought all that was a very good addition to the film.
Yeah.
Right. Those were good scenes for fans.
Yeah.
For real fans of the movies and the books.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because I think that's the thing is that
more so the books.
Yeah, exactly. Like that's what happens, right? I remember when these very first came out, and I remember going and seeing them in the theater and listening to people who have never read anything, right? And they're like upset because like Sauron and Galadriel and all like these people weren't in the Hobbit and stuff. It's like but the timeline is right.
Yeah.
Like you're right, but it's just because you haven't read the other material.
Yeah, they're just putting people in to put people in. It's like no, they were there.
Yeah,
and we'll get to this later.
Right,
but anyway, we'll get to it later.
That's the thing is, I guess that's the
Legolas edition.
Right, and like, the idea that like
and you're right when you say that like it makes sense. He's the king's son.
Yeah.
Right. So he would be there.
Right. And not just that, but like the idea that they are creating in making these movies and in what Peter Jackson did. And I know for some people, weirdly enough, I still don't understand this. This is a downside for them, but they created a cohesive universe in this, right? They took the entire universe that was made by J.R.R. Tolkien and his son, Christopher Tolkien. They took all of that together and they said, this is the timeline that we're working with, so let's put it into the movie so that they can all be connected, so that it's one nice big saga,
right?
Like you were saying, right? For some reason, some people have a problem with that.
Yeah.
I'm not really sure why, but like that's an issue for some people. But that's what they were doing here. They were saying, yes, this is not in The Hobbit. However, there is a lot of source material that is not The Hobbit, and this is happening at the exact same time.
And even Tolkien did that himself, though,
yes.
Right? With The Hobbit was a stand, and we talked about this when we originally did this.
Yeah.
In that The Hobbit was a standalone book.
Yeah.
But because of the Ring and him tying it to the Lord of the Rings, right? Then he had to go back and Tolkien had to go back and retcon the first book.
Yeah, he changed Riddles in the Dark significantly.
And part of the reason why, and I mentioned this the last time, is the way I view the trilogy is I view the trilogy as Bilbo's take on his adventure. It's explicit in the movie. Bilbo starts off remembering and writing this book.
Right, he's telling you a story.
He's telling you the story. And Bilbo as a character is a storyteller and an embellisher, right? And the first version of The Hobbit is an example of his embellishment because The Hobbit is written as if Bilbo wrote it, right? Right. And the way Tolkien kind of wrote it off is, that was Bilbo's lie that he told to the dwarves about how he got the ring. Here's the actual version, and then that's the version that is now published, right? Or has continued to be published. So the way I view the trilogy, and with all the just the kind of the CGI and all that, the way I'm able to kind of brush all that criticism aside from it is it's just Bilbo's version of his story. Right. And it's going to be exaggerated. And
it's fantastical.
It's fantastical. And, there's CGI because it's Bilbo telling the story. And of course, it's more cartoony and, and whatever. Not cartoony, but it's not as realistic as The Lord of the Rings is. Right. Because those stories, we're told, are provided to us by Frodo and by Sam. Right. And they're not as much storytellers as historians, compared to Bilbo.
Right. And that's the thing too, what you were saying with that, it's Bilbo's tale, it's a Hobbit's tale, right? That's kind of what we're supposed to be taking from this. I mean, we see that in The Lord of the Rings, where he's talking to the kids at his birthday party, and he's telling this great story
about Smaug.
About
the trolls.
Yeah. And like he loves to see people's reaction to this like fantastic story that he's telling. Yeah. But it's I guess it's just funny to me that it's a criticism that they tried to make these, like, I've heard multiple times that it's a criticism that Peter Jackson tried to make these into prequels. But like we talked about last time, Tolkien did that himself. Yeah. As soon as he made the ring that Bilbo found in Riddles in the Dark, the same ring that Sauron had cut from his finger, at that moment, it is now all you can think about. Yeah. You cannot read the story of The Hobbit as a standalone story anymore, because we all know, anybody who's listening to this has probably at least seen the movies. Yeah. We all know what is going to happen later on with that.
Because we're told at the very, very beginning of the first movie, that Bilbo finds the One Ring. Yeah. Right?
And so that's just that's
within
the
first
world we're
5
in.
minutes of the movie. Yeah. You know that the ring that Bilbo has is Sauron's.
So you can't look at it in any other way. So I think that what they did of bringing that in and deciding, like, this is a full created universe now. Yeah. Let's use everything that was like that we can, because legally they weren't allowed to use some things, but like, let's use everything that we can to make this a connected universe. I don't see that as bad storytelling, or like even like, oh, look at this person that you already know. I see it as a smart way to say these are all connected. Yeah. Right? I mean, to tie it back into Marvel, nobody gets mad when there's a cameo of another like Marvel character
or the
in a movie.
Or the Stan Lee cameo.
Yeah, like nobody gets upset because everybody it connects, right? It's like, oh yes, that's right. This is the same universe, and even like small things, like I said, I'm rewatching Daredevil, the first season, and they're talking about an office space that they're trying to rent, and Foggy, Matt Murdock's partner, says,
I've seen it.
Foggy says, he says, this sounds like pre-incident prices. So they talk about the incident, right? They don't necessarily talk much about like the heroes and other stuff like that, but there are those small things that it's just like a reminder, like, oh, by the way, remember,
we're in this universe.
Yeah, this is a part of this universe. Yeah. This is a part of everything here.
Well, it's like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. was the exact same way. Right?
Yeah.
And so
like I don't like the criticism that people say that they feel like they tried too hard to make this a prequel. Sorry, Tolkien did that way back in the 50s. like that just happened. Yeah. Like it was made into a sequel by his own writing. Yeah. Prequel. Yeah, prequel. Right, not sequel.
Not sequel.
So anyway, movie number 3.
Movie number 3. Things that we liked?
Yeah, we're still on things that we liked.
Go ahead.
We're 50 minutes in. We're still on things that we like. So I think movie number 3, what I did enjoy, these things are definitely going to be different than the first one that we did.
Yeah,
because I'm just thinking about it differently, I guess.
Well, here, I'll start this one. Is this plug time?
Yeah, go ahead and plug your O2 recovery water.
Drink it.
Drank it. Drink it, damn it.
I have nothing to recover from other than
your back squats 2 days ago.
My back squats 2 days ago. So the third movie, is I have criticisms for the third movie.
I think the third movie is the one that we had the most criticisms for.
Right. Because there was a third movie. That's my criticism. That's my criticism. But the battle sequences, like, I think that was all done extremely well.
Yeah.
Right? That's all I'm going to say about it.
Yeah.
Because I think that's all I can say. Because the entire third movie was just one giant battle.
Right. And so that's what I was going to say is I actually, like, I like the battle.
The battle of 5 armies is the 5 races.
Yeah.
Right? So men, orcs, dwarves, elves.
In eagles?
In eagles.
Yeah. Alright. I'll take it. That's fine.
Yeah.
Whatever.
I mean, Bjorn's there, but he's technically a man.
Yeah.
Even though he's not.
Yeah.
Right? But whatever.
So... that's the other thing. Like, I really liked it. I thought it was great. I thought they did a really good job of the Battle of Five Armies, even though it's a paragraph of the book. And I know why they did it, right? They did it because they wanted a big-ass battle scene.
And they wanted a third movie.
Yeah. And, like, I'm down with that. Like, that's fine with me. Like, they did... I don't know. I liked the battle. I liked seeing that battle. I liked some of the crazy, like, even though you feel bad, like some of the crazy trolls that are in it and all of that other stuff. Like, it's just
the trolls with no arms, and no legs,
and the twirly whirlies, and all of that stuff is just fun. And like, yeah, I thought that whole thing was pretty great.
Yeah.
You do, however, basically, I mean, for the most part, forget about Bilbo.
Yeah, Bilbo's not a big character.
No. I mean, there's the distrust that Thorin is having in his madness, and we'll get into that in a second, because that's one of the things that I really don't like, right? But his fall into madness and all of that stuff, and the way that he treats Bilbo, right? You've got that, but then for the most part, like, Bilbo's not in the battle.
No.
Like, he's not supposed to be in the battle. He gets knocked out at the very beginning in the book, and he
gets knocked out at the very end
in the movie.
Yeah.
But still, right? He's not really in this battle, and so like he's kind of a non-character in the third movie, which is a down
because the third movie picks up with the
Smaug destroying Lake Town.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's right. And so then most of the movie is Bilbo with the Arkenstone, and then that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. No, I mean, again, there's not a whole lot to the third movie.
Yeah.
Other than the battle. I mean, there's stuff that happens, but
right.
It's mainly a giant. It's the march to the battle and then the battle, right?
Yeah, waiting for the battle. Like, yeah, it's just
death to Smaug and then waiting for the battle.
Yeah.
Right. And then battle sequence. So yeah, I mean the battle, and then again, I already mentioned it, was how they tied that, the two trilogies together.
Right at the very end. Yeah. And I love Bilbo's return home.
Yeah.
Like, that's fantastic. Like, that whole part of, like, Bilbo's return home, and, he has the chest, the one chest that he has, and him showing up, and everybody's, buying his stuff.
And then he's like, well, do you know who you are?
Yeah, like, the whole idea that, like, and it's, the ridiculousness of it is fantastic, because it's just this idea of, like, everybody there obviously knows who Bilbo is. Yeah. They've all grown up together. Nobody doesn't know who anybody else in that area is.
Right.
But they question it, right? Because nobody's ever been gone that long.
Yeah, the one guy goes, you shouldn't be alive.
Yeah, like, you were gone for too long.
Yeah.
Like, anybody who's gone for that long is dead.
Yeah.
Like, sorry, that's just how it is.
Yeah.
And so this idea of, like, going on an adventure just isn't a thing. And so he has to...
Dogs are going next door.
Oh. So he has to prove, and it's nice because it's kind of, again, this isn't necessarily part of the book, but it shows that love, basically, that he had for the dwarves, and for Thorin especially, when he says, like, here's my contract, and they ask, like, well, who's this Thorin guy? And he's very heartfelt about that part. And so it's nice. It ties it in, makes you feel good, and makes you sad that Thorin's dead, and his friend died, and all of that stuff. And then it ties it in at the end. Then it's just Gandalf knocking at the door.
Yeah, and we're back to the original trilogy.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think for the most part, we kind of got the gist of what we had discussed previously.
Yeah.
So now to the bad.
Now, again, let's do that, like, kind of how we did it.
Preface it that even though we think that this was bad, it doesn't take away from the fact that overall we enjoyed the movies.
Right.
And the world is a better place because the movies exist,
yes.
right? The bad is just, they didn't need to do it, right?
Right.
And so for me, it's that criticism of, it's the criticism that it gets, right?
Right.
That should have been 2 movies, right? Shouldn't have had the weird
love triangle,
romance angle with, Keely and
Tariel and Legolas.
And Legolas, right? Yeah. Aside from that, the only other thing that I disliked was how blue they had made Orlando Bloom's eyes.
That's right. You were very upset about that.
Yeah, it's just very, very... He looks like the Night King.
Yeah.
Right?
He looks like a fucking White Walker.
Yeah, he's like a White Walker elf. Because they're just so piercingly blue and they're just not natural looking.
Yeah.
And I was rewatching the original trilogy, and it's just like, no, his eyes, like, they do change, I think, in the movie.
They do.
But it's just like,
but not like that.
But not like that. They're blue, but they're more of a normal blue. Yeah. Right. And or brown, right? And so it's just like you really can't tell.
Yeah.
Right. But like they made it a fact, like, no, you're going to look into his eyes and be creeped the fuck out.
His elf eyes are blue.
Yeah.
I am not a huge fan of that either. I like other things that they did with Legolas's character, but that part was just weird.
Yeah, he's kind of a dick too in it.
Yeah, which I'm okay with though.
Yeah,
like I'm okay because like we've talked about the original trilogy, other than Elrond.
He's kind of bro-y.
Yeah, but like the original trilogy, other than Elrond kind of being like a racist ass that he's not supposed to be. Right. Other than that, it really depicts these elves as like
above everything.
Yeah, and like these very like haughty but for a good reason type elves, and that's fine unless you've read the Silmarillion, and then you realize no, elves are assholes. Yeah, they are awful. Not all of them. Not all elves are bad.
It's mainly the Noldor elves who are assholes.
Yeah. And so you get that, right? Like in the Silmarillion, you understand, like, no, elves have fucked up a lot. Yeah. Like it's not like
elves have faults.
That's not an exclusive men or dwarf trait. Yeah. Like no, elves can be pretty shitty.
And he kind of makes Elrond more of a dick in the movies when he says, I was there, Elrond, when the race of men, failed. Yeah. Were you also there, Elrond, when the race of dwarves or the race of elves failed?
Yeah. Sorry, buddy, you weren't there when Feanor fucked up royally.
Yeah. Gandalf was though.
Yes, he was.
So don't tell Gandalf about races failing.
So I think my biggest thing, and this we talked about this a little bit, so I won't go too. I feel like I went probably like really in depth to it. Now I know nobody else heard it, but like one of the biggest criticisms that you also hear is the fact that there wasn't as many practical effects. Yeah. My thing with that, like, and we talked about yours, where you're perfectly fine with that because you see this as a more fantastical story being told.
I see it as Bilbo's story being told.
For me, a lot of my appreciation from it came after watching all of the extras. Yeah. I told you about that, like all the extras in the movies, and like, I mean, there are a lot of good reasons for the visual effects that are in it. Right, and the CGI that's in it. There are a lot of good reasons for that. One of them is, like, if you haven't seen any of the extras, but you've watched the movies, the orc that is first like trailing the one that's the captain of the group that's trailing the dwarves, that orc is practical effects. He's in a suit. Mm-hmm. He's supposed to be Azog. And he's just not imposing enough.
Yeah.
Like, not from what you're supposed to need out of... And I get it.
Out of a
Azog's
villain.
not supposed to be in it, blah, 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 blah. We get that.
Is it Bog?
Yeah, Bog's supposed to be the one.
Yeah.
And they brought him into it, but later on and all of that fun jazz.
Is Bog the one that Legolas kills?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And he's supposed to be
the son of
Azog's son.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which he still is technically in the movie, I think.
Right.
They just don't talk about it that often. But anyway, they there's a good reason behind it. Because they needed Azog to be like this larger than life orc, right? Like this big, like, and they went through different concepts and they just decided that it wasn't it.
Yeah.
So they went back and they refilmed those with a CGI character instead. And there were other things like that. And part of that also was the fact that, at least for the first one, Peter Jackson kind of got dropped into it.
Yeah.
Because Guillermo del Toro had to leave.
Yeah.
Like, he had other commitments and things weren't working the way that it was supposed to. So they just didn't have time. And the easiest way to do it was to do it CGI.
And it's not bad.
No, it doesn't take me out of the movie.
No, it doesn't take me out of the movie.
And that's what we talked about that last time.
We talked about, like,
is the idea of being taken out of a movie because of virtual effects.
Yeah.
And it didn't ever take me out of the movie. And honestly, some of the best virtual effects I've ever seen are in these movies with Gollum and with Smaug.
Yeah.
Like, the virtual effects with those
you could not have done this movie without virtual effects.
No, and like the way that both of those look and the detail that they've gone into it, because again, after watching the behind the scenes stuff, you notice, or like I at least noticed with rewatching The Hobbit in Riddles of the Dark, Gollum doesn't have those scars on his back because he hasn't been yet captured and tortured by Mordor, right?
Yeah.
And so it's like, it's cool, like the things that they've done and the like the virtual effects on it with Gollum and again with Smaug. Like there are some camera angles with Smaug with some of the stuff that they did. I still remember watching in the theater the part where I think it's in the third movie. I think it's when he's destroying Lake Town and he's talking to Bard, and like the depth that they give him, where like the front of him is very much in focus and it kind of blurs on the way back. It's just amazing.
Like as if you were really
looking at a dragon, a big ass dragon,
and filming a dragon.
Yeah, and it just looks so good. Yeah. Like I loved it. And so I'm perfectly okay with the virtual effects.
Yeah.
Because one, it was necessary in the filming, and I feel like again we're better off with this film than without it, or films. But I do agree with you that the Tariel character definitely is a great character to be in the movie. I think
I'm not saying that Tariel should not have been in the movie.
Right.
I think it's a great addition. But I think this is what we talked about last time, is that, you know, and it's a thing that movies do is they have to add the romance angle and make the woman or the female character reactive to the male characters, right?
Right.
And I think we talked about this in that if they hadn't put in Tariel, you have no female characters.
Yeah. It's just a bunch of bros on a mission.
Yeah. Just a bunch of dudes on a trip to a mountain.
Yeah.
To get some gold.
Right.
Right? And her character by herself could have been a very, very strong female hero, you know, and just kind of, you know, she was the captain of the guard.
Yeah.
Right? And
yeah, like that's the thing too. It's not like she was just another warrior elf. She was actually a captain of the guard.
Yeah.
Like she had a position in this military. She had and everything else could have continued on. She didn't have to, like, that's the thing that I thought about even more is like this idea of like, well, maybe this love like triangle pushes the story, but it really doesn't, because even when she leaves, when Thandriel. I have a hard time pronouncing his name. I think it's Thandriel. Thranduil, is that what it is? Thranduil. Anyway, doesn't matter. When he's like close up the gates type of thing, nobody's gonna leave, and she bounces. She can do that because it's the right thing to do.
Right.
She doesn't have to do that because she feels some sort of love to a dwarf.
Yeah.
Like, she can do that in the idea of like
no,
tying.
You're wrong.
Yeah, like tying it back to like a Marvel thing. She can be like the Captain America in that situation, where she does it because it's right.
Right.
Not because of anything else. She just does it because that's the way it should be done.
But because it's Hollywood.
Right.
You have to do it because she's doing it for the love that she has for this.
Yes.
Good-looking elf. Right.
Right. So it's frustrating because they didn't need that. They didn't need to have that in there. And even then, even with Legolas going after her, it didn't have to be of a love situation. Or even if it was, it could have been an unrequited love that Legolas had for her that didn't have anything to do with this love triangle.
And the thing that we talked about, I think, when we were talking about, like, well, you know, they added it for the love story and the relationship. I'm like, you can show other types of love.
Right.
Right? You can, and they did.
Right.
They showed the love that Bilbo had for Thorin.
Right.
They show the relationship with Bilbo, and I can't remember his name.
I know. I feel really bad that I can never remember which dwarf he is.
Which dwarf he is. But whatever, it doesn't matter. You know, everyone watching hopefully knows who we're talking about.
Is he Biffer? No,
Boffer?
Is he Boffer?
Maybe it's Boffer.
He might be Boffer.
It might be Boffer. You just have to add it in post.
I know. I'm going to put a big picture of him and his name.
Yeah.
Poor guy.
Poor guy.
And he's a great actor. He's
he's
a great part of the movie.
Yeah, he's a great part of the movie. And just the dialogue that he has with Bilbo, and Bilbo is, you know, at his lowest at that point of the movie.
Right, trying to go home.
And, you know, and Bilbo just kind of explodes, and, you know, he's like, you don't have a home. He's like, you're right. You know, we don't. And then, you know, Bilbo feels bad about that. And it kind of pushes Bilbo into continuing on this journey with them.
Well, and because that's the thing, is when, like, at the end, after all, because then, you know, they go to the goblins, all of that stuff, but on the other side, when Thorin asks why he's doing it, it's because of that conversation that he has with Boffer. I'm almost certain that it is Boffer now.
Yeah.
It's because of that conversation that he has with Boffer, because he says, like, you don't have a home.
Yeah.
And I do.
And I want
you to have a home.
Yeah.
And so, like, it definitely pushes that love that they show. It's the same idea of the love that's shown between Sam and Frodo.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, it's this.
It's not an unnatural. We only make it unnatural because of just our toxic masculinity culture, right?
Well,
where you can't, and that's a strictly American thing.
Yeah.
Is men showing emotion to other men.
Right.
Right. And it's like you go to, like, Europe, and men don't have a problem, like, hugging on each other.
Yeah.
Right? And it's like, I watch Love Island.
Yeah.
Right? And it's a horrible TV show. And it's trash television, and I just admitted it. But the guys on there, even though they're super douchey, bro-y guys, like, they're pretty close to each other.
Yeah.
Right? And it's not normal to them.
Right? And it's not anything but it's non-romantic.
Right. It's a non-romantic love.
Yeah.
And I think the problem is that we only have one word for love.
Right.
Right? And, like, Spanish has two different meanings for love. Right. There's amo love, which is, you know, what you feel for your partner.
Right.
Right? And then there's quiero love, which is, you know, what you feel for, like, your friends and stuff.
Right.
And so you can tell people you love them and not make it all romantic and shit, right? You can tell them that you just love them.
Yeah.
Right? So they totally missed a really good opportunity to
focus more on that.
Yeah, to focus more on that, and to send another message like, hey, this is normal love too.
Yeah, because it's still, like, every time I watch this movie, like, every single time I watch these movies, it's still like, and I'm perfectly okay with saying this, it breaks my heart every time that Martin Freeman as Bilbo is just sitting there crying over the dead Thorin.
Yeah.
And like telling him like, you know, the eagles are coming. Like just it's a great part of the movie.
Yeah.
And they did a decent job with showing it, but I do feel like, and the more I've thought about it, I do feel like they cheapen a little bit because they were like, okay, but let's show this love story too. Right.
And the other thing that I dislike about the love story, and you don't like when I say this, is that
it doesn't.
It totally cheapens.
I know that you feel this way.
The Gimli and Legolas relationship.
I just don't feel like it's a zero-sum game. I don't think
it's just. It's not supposed to be that way. So have we done the things that we've done? Just kind of a combined what we don't like. Right?
Yeah, which is fine. Like I like that. Like I said, I think one of the other things, because I talked about criticism that I wanted to be okay with, but one of the things that I don't like is I don't like how long they have Thorin's descent into madness.
Oh yeah.
I'm not like I like that they bring dragon sickness into it because it gives us an understanding of like why Thorin would suddenly be this way. Because I feel like in the book it's a little too jarring. Yeah. Like, why is Thorin suddenly trying to throw Bilbo off of the rampart? Like that's like just over a jewel.
Yeah.
So I like that they bring the dragon sickness into it, but his descent into madness is a little too much for me. Like they go a little too far on it. I don't mind the like super trip out of the forest.
No, I think that was
But the super trip out of Thorin for like, I don't know, 20 minutes of the third movie.
That was another thing that I thought they filmed pretty well, was the trip out in the forest.
Yeah, right? I mean like all the twisting angles and like,
and then like Bilbo like turning around and seeing
himself,
Bilbo, and then like going back and then it's Bilbo in front of him. It's just like, I'm like, oh yeah, that is kind of.
They're like walking backwards and like, it's good.
It's good. Again, different from the books, right?
Right. The whole chasing the elves around, basically. At night.
Yeah.
Very different, but still, like, I like the way that they did it.
Yeah.
We kind of combined a lot of things that we talked about last time, but something that you feel like they added that they didn't need to, and or that they took away and shouldn't have.
I'm trying to remember what I said the last time.
You brought back the whole love triangle thing, which yes, we get that. That's fine.
Yeah. No, I'm not gonna bring it back again. Yeah. I think I've said enough about it. I want to think about what it is that they took out that I wish that they had kept in.
I'll say mine. I actually it's that it wasn't necessary, right? That's kind of what we said last time.
Uh-huh.
I just don't. I love all the extended versions. I love everything that like they do with that. However,
I think there was I think I remember I had you said
I don't like what they did with Thrain.
Oh, the adding him in.
Yeah. I don't like that they added him in when they did.
Yeah.
It kind of makes the idea of the map and the key a little weird. Like it doesn't match up because that's when Gandalf was supposed to get it before he gave it to Thorin. So like it's still not sure. Like how the hell did? Yeah, I felt that part was unnecessary. Like adding Thrain into that was unnecessary to a point that like that part actually kind of did take me out of it a little bit, having Thrain in there. I know why. Well, I kind of have an idea of why they did it.
Why?
Right? This idea of, like, they wanted to show you that Thrain still had a ring of power. That, like, because he does in that, right? Like, they're going to cut off his hand and all that stuff. Like, he still has oh no, he did that beforehand.
Yeah,
he just had a little stub.
Yeah, they had already cut it.
Okay, so I don't know. I don't know why they put it in there.
Yeah.
It shouldn't have been in there. Like that's the one thing that I'm just like, no. Like I didn't need that.
They did a good part. They did a good thing with the intro to the second. I think it was the second movie.
Yes.
Where they show Thorin going to Bree,
which is great.
And then
meeting at the prancing pony,
and then Gandalf kind of talking to him, and I think giving him the map and key at that point. Right?
He doesn't give him the key until he's at Bilbo's house.
He gives him the map.
Yeah, if I remember right. Yeah.
Yeah. They could have extended that and gone to
right,
but it does take away for people who only watch the movies. It takes them out of it a little bit.
Yeah.
Because then he's like, why is he there?
Right.
If he's just now finding out that
why
was he there before?
Well,
right?
and why is he running around Dol Guldur? Like it's just weird.
Right.
Like the whole idea is kind of bizarre.
But like the books tell us, or the appendices, and the unfinished tales, and whatever, all those tell us that he goes there. Like they had already been aware of the growing power at Dol Guldur.
Right.
Right. And he goes there and he finds Thrain.
Right.
And then he meets with the White Council and they're like, no, and Saruman's like, no, don't worry about it. It's just a necromancer. It's just a man, right? And then no, like it's Sauron, and then then we get to where we are in the movies,
right?
Where we should be,
right?
Without Thrain,
right?
So really, it does take it a little, like you can't introduce Dol Guldur and then like not have it for the movie, for the purposes of the movie,
right? I think that
it was just bad.
I think they did it well. Like, I think that's kind of a fun and cool sequence, and they did that whole, like, everything at Dol Guldur is done well.
Yes.
It just, it didn't do anything.
The Thrain part.
Yeah, the Thrain part did nothing for me. It was just,
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's my one part that I'm like, I didn't need that. You didn't need to put it in there. You didn't need to try and fit it in there in a different way than it would have fit in the first place. Like, it just wasn't necessary.
What did they add that's not in the book? So Gandalf going to the Rudar hills or wherever. After what's his name?
Radagast?
Tells him.
Okay.
Or no, not Radagast. Beorn tells him about it.
Oh, right.
In the very beginning of like the second film.
Right. He asks if anybody's buried there or something like that.
And so then he leaves them to the woods, and then he goes over there.
Mm-hmm.
And so we see that, and then we see him going in there. We get a little bit more story about who they are. And it's the
Witch King.
Yeah.
And the rest of the Wraiths.
The Witch King of Angmar.
Yeah.
You said Angbad last time.
Yeah.
Like Angbad's a different place.
Yeah.
First age.
And so I think what I liked that they added.
And the Radagast scenes.
You
got more Radagast. More of
so that's what I was gonna say. One of the things that we talked about on the first time we did this is one of the things that I really liked that they added was the fact that we got a lot more Radagast, and that I like what they did with Radagast.
Yeah.
I like Radagast being kind of this like goofy like hippie in the woods.
Yeah.
Like still has power, still like.
Yeah,
knows what he's doing, still a wizard, still wise, but like kind of we've talked about this before, he's definitely left his path.
Yeah.
Right? He's not there, he's not doing what he's supposed to be doing.
He's just
he's
chilling in nature.
Yeah, he kinda did what Melian did.
Right.
She left and she was like, no, I like this place, I like the nature here, I like the songbirds.
Yeah.
I'm good here.
Yeah.
I'm going to marry an elf.
Yeah.
And so, he kind of did that same thing. That's not why he was sent to Middle-earth,
right.
To be, protector of nature, but it's kind of what he did. And I liked what they created for that character. Yeah. I thought it was good.
Yeah. What did they take out that you wish they'd left in? I think this one was a little tougher.
This is tougher. What did they take out that I wish they would have left in?
I think the other thing you didn't like that they added was I want to say his name's Arthur.
Oh yeah, that's right. I did not like Arthur. Yeah.
Is his name Arthur?
Yeah, it's Arthur.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did not like him because he was Wormtongue.
Yeah.
He was Grima Wormtongue.
Yeah.
It was the same fucking character. That was the one thing that I was like, just to tell me that we're in the same universe doesn't mean that you have to give me the same exact character. Like, that's all he was. Yeah. He was Grima Wormtongue, and it was just, I didn't like it. I thought that was, I don't know. I thought that was dumb. I don't feel like I needed that at all. I feel like a slimy master of the town would have been enough, and Stephen Fry does great as that the master of the town, right? Yeah, I didn't need Arthur. I can kind of see why he's in there, but like I didn't need it. One of the things that I loved was that the personalities of the dwarves were much more pronounced in the movie. In the book, there's very little hashed out about each individual dwarf.
Except for Bomber.
Right. And Thorin.
And Thorin. But I mean, other than the main,
But you don't even really get, like, you
just get that Bomber's just fat.
Yeah. Yeah, because you don't even really get, like, the relationship between Thorin and Balin. Like...
No. Well, you don't get the relationship between Balin and Dwalin either.
Right. But like Balin and Thorin is a really good relationship, right? They kind of balance each other out.
Yep.
And you don't get that out at all in the book. So you get that nice little balance. You get you get all of the different, the kind of weird quirks from all the other like dwarves. You get Killian Philly being the sexy warrior. Yeah, like it's this whole thing that like I like that. I like that we get a little bit of everything in there.
Yeah.
And we get to know a little bit more about each of them. Now the ones that are really left out, honestly, are Oin, Gloin, and who's the third one in that group?
So
there's Oin, Gloin, and one more in that group of people, because Gloin is Gimli's father.
Yeah.
And then you've got Oin, which is the one that can't hear.
Feely Keely, Oin, Gloin.
There's a third one there. The guy who's got the star.
Dory, Dwalin, Balin, and Thorin. That's it. It's only Oin and Gloin.
Oh, okay.
It's Bifur, Buffer, Bomber. Who are a trio.
Okay. So anyway, you've got them that you don't get a whole lot out of. Even it's funny because you think of like Gimli, son of Gloin, right? But you don't really get a whole lot of Gloin, other than the fact that he's stingy and doesn't want to give up money.
Yeah.
Other than that, you don't really get a whole lot from him. But you do from a lot of other dwarves, and I like that. I like that you get to know these dwarves a little bit more.
I think as far as what they took out, and it's not really that important, is so in the books, the barrel ride to Lake Town is Bilbo's birthday.
Oh, that's right. And he remembers it.
And he remembers it, and he's sick.
Yeah.
And he gets mad because they're like all the dwarves are all pissed at him because they're
that's
wet,
right.
and he's just like, I didn't get a barrel. You like
I'm sick and
it's my birthday. Yeah. So it's not really that important. It's not in the films.
Right.
I guess if I have to pick something.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I feel like we've talked pretty well about like overall the different things that like, yes, we don't like some things. Obviously, like there are things not to like about the movies.
Yeah.
But to be honest, and we'll get into this, there are things not to like about the original trilogy as well. The difference is that it was such a big deal, and there was so much fanfare, and it was
done so well.
And it was done so well that very few people talked about the things that were changed or didn't go the way that it should have or weren't done as well.
And we've talked about it a little.
And we have, and so we'll talk about that more because there are things in there, and I'm sure like us watching it again, we'll be like, okay, yeah, that thing, or like whatever it is. But we wanted to make sure, but that again, that doesn't diminish them as the medium that they are, they're still amazing.
Yeah.
And I do feel like The Hobbit is like all three of the Hobbit movies are a great way to tie in this entire universe. And it makes me, even though I know Peter Jackson isn't like necessarily associated with these, but it makes me excited for the Amazon series. Because again, like, I don't care how, but as long as they are within this connected universe, like, I'm going to be happy about that. And I know, again, it's going to be different because it's not Peter Jackson.
Right.
But that's okay. I'm all right with that. And I'm not a person, we talked about this, like, neither of us are going to jump down the throats of what's going to happen to this before we even watch it.
Yeah.
Like, let an episode come out first, you know? Like, let it begin, and then if you want to go on your rant about why you think it's awful, then sure. Yeah. You go ahead and do that and be wrong.
If it's awful. If it's awful.
Right. So I just think that, like, for the most part, these movies get shit on.
Yeah.
And I still, like, there's not a big compelling reason that I've heard as to why. There are understandable reasons why it's not, like you said, like, there's a love triangle that doesn't need to be there. There's other things like that, yes, I understand, but that doesn't make the movie shit. It doesn't make the story shit. It's still a good story. It's still a good movie and a part of this entire legendarium. Right. Right? So, you know, it's kind of throwing the baby out with the bathwater type of thing. Yeah. Closing statements.
I'm really not looking forward to the Lord of the Rings row. No, I mean, look, we both came into this and we're both fans of the movies. I think our criticisms are kind of similar. You know, and yeah, I enjoy the movies for what they are. And, you know, the way I view them is, for me, a better way to view it and kind of not think about the things that most people would criticize about it, right? So, like, the special effects and the use of special effects, you know, CGI special effects. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
We've talked a lot.
Yeah, we've talked a lot today. We'll wrap this one up. You know, if you guys could, like, tell your friends about the podcast and about the YouTube channel, that'd be great. Rate, put some ratings in there. We're on Spotify now, so it makes it easier if you just want to listen to it and not watch our dumb faces while we're doing this.
You gotta do the plug for the at the end.
Yeah, I don't know.
You need a script.
I feel like I need to just, like, either write it out or just do it once and just put it at the end every single time. But really, you know, just you know, check it out. If you like it on YouTube, then keep watching it on YouTube. But we are on Spotify, and I'm on, like, I mean,
click subscribe.
Yeah.
And then hit the bell to get notified. That's what I hear people saying.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
Review, subscribe, like, all of that fun stuff. We're on Instagram. You know, I'm doing more and more there. Something that I shared with Carlos, and I haven't told you this. So I'm writing up some workouts. For you know, for the swole part of the Swolhirrim. And
they're awful.
The J.R.R. Tolkien hero workout is tough.
Yeah.
I showed Ariel, and I told her what all of the meanings were on the numbers.
I figured it out.
And she said, "This is the nerdiest thing that you have ever done.
Yeah.
Ever."
Yeah.
And I'm like, well,
yeah.
I feel good about that.
It's the row is his year of birth.
Mm-hmm.
The
first row.
The buy-in row. The buyout row is the year he died.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's the rings, right?
Yeah. Well, and 5 rounds for the 5 books.
5 rounds for the 5 books.
Because you've got the Silmarillion, the Hobbit, and then the 3 Lord of the Rings.
Oh, yeah.
So I did 5 rounds for the 5 books. And then, 9, 7, 3, 1 for the rings. Yeah. And then the year of his death. Yeah. So I did that and I'll put that out there. There's going to be a few of these workouts that I'm just going to put out for free, just so people can kind of see what it's like. And, like I said, add that swole part of the Swolhirrim. And then it's going to start to be a part of one of the tiers on the Patreon, is that you'll have programming as well. I sent you the Christopher Tolkien one.
Yes.
And that was all just that's the date of his death. Yeah. So it's 1/16/2020.
Yeah, he just died.
Of rounds.
I remember that.
But it's 12 rounds for the 12 issues of the history of Middle Earth. Yeah. So, and I'm currently working on a hero wad for Turin. That's my next one that I'm doing. So that'll be my first Middle Earth hero wad.
Yeah. First, yeah. Legendarium hero.
Yeah. So anyway, that's out there. I'm actually gonna put the J.R.R. Tolkien one out on the Instagram, and people can do that. Just so that you can kind of get a taste of what we're talking about. And the hero wads aren't the only programming that we do.
I want a hero wad that I can actually do.
Yeah. If you guys know anything about CrossFit, the hero wads are usually half-hour to hour-long workouts. They're usually a pretty big grind. But anyway, we're gonna do that. So follow us on Instagram. Listen to us on Spotify, on Anchor. That's actually the platform that I create these podcasts on. You can listen through Anchor. Most of where podcasts are, it's on there. The one that we're still working on getting on is Apple Podcasts. I'm not on there yet. YouTube, check us out here. Like it. Leave comments when we fuck up, and if
call us out.
Yeah, call us out. I'm perfectly fine with that. Yeah. You can trash on our.
I'm sure Chris or I will reference you.
Yeah.
And be like, thanks for pointing it out.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because we're not.
You can call us out, and I will call you out right back.
We're not professing ourselves to be the end all be all experts on this, right?
So if you hate these movies, you can tell me that, and then you can go fuck yourself. Because I did.
Well, I wouldn't be that strong.
But leave comments. Yeah. Tell us. There are, like I said, we're going into other things where I'm gonna put out tiers. I'll let everybody know when we talk about it. But we want to do ask me anything type things. I wanna do those types of videos. We're going to get more into this idea of fitness and Tolkien and kind of mashing the two together. But, there's going to be more of that. I personally like listening to it 1.5 speed. Yeah. It's just better that way. We sound better.
It's quicker.
But also our vocals sound better at that speed. Yeah. I don't know why it is.
1.5 speed?
Yeah.
I'll have to do it.
It's weird.
I'll try it.
I like it.
All right,
we're out.
Bye.